Responders worked to contain a grass fire that was moving towards a home in Rusk County. About 2:45 this afternoon, Crims Chapel Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department, and the Kilgore Fire Department were dispatched to a grass fire. The first units to arrive found a slow-moving fire in an open field that covered about 1 to 2 acres. Firefighters said the flames were extinguished quickly without any injuries or loss of property, but they warned there is a specific fire risk at this time of year from dormant fuels or dry winter brush. These materials can ignite and cause fire to spread quickly, so the department's asked residents to please use caution.